Hey guys, and welcome back to That LP Show. The name of the game is Donkey Kong 64. This is the finale, but before taking on King K. Rool, we have some unfinished business with the Banana Fairy Queen. Since we rescued all of her Banana Fairy babies, she has a reward for us. So I'm taking control of Tiny Kong real quick so I can gain access to the Banana Fairy Island, because if you remember, we have to shrink down with the Mini Monkey ability. And a few things that I forgot to mention in the last episode: if you think you're going to get into Hideout Helm with Diddy, think again, because if you try to use his jet barrel that you can access near the entrance to Fungi Forest to fly into the entrance, nope, that won't work because the jetpack will malfunction as soon as you get close. Also, if you approach the door to the final boss key and you don't have the Nintendo coin or the Rare coin, the character that you're playing as will have a thought bubble appear above their head, and they'll pretty much remind you that you need to go get those things. They'll mention something about Cranky being able to help you. Anyway, in addition to unlocking everything in the mystery menu, rescuing all of the Banana Fairies gets us one more reward: the elusive Rare Banana. So, believe it or not, we have actually already achieved 101%. If we looked at our file on the main menu, you'd see that. Getting this final banana does absolutely nothing for our percentage, but it does unlock an additional extra scene after the ending credits. That's all it really does. And of course, Tiny Kong gets it, even though DK deserves it more. So let's see if we have unlocked everything. There's 201 out of 200 bananas, 10 crowns, all of the keys, all of the medals. We got the rare coin, all of the Banana Fairies, got the Nintendo coin, and of course we got all of the blueprints if we managed to get all of the bananas. So there you go. Absolutely all of the collectibles in the game. It's time to finally release K. Lumsy from his prison. Why does Tiny get the rare banana? I mean, she's not even the main character. Her name's not in the title. It should be Donkey Kong to get it. He's the top banana. Yet, I can't help but feel that he gets the shaft in this game. And I've said this before, but I swear that you use him less than any other Kong. At the very least, all of his golden bananas, or all of the things that you have to go through in order to get his golden bananas, they're all the least involved. They're some of the easiest to get in the entire game. In fact, you could probably say that about the entire series, because in the Super Nintendo trilogy, you only played as him in the first game, and even then, people preferred Diddy Kong because of his mobility, and then he wasn't even playable in the next two games, and in this, he's sorely underused. That's probably why Retro Studios decided to relegate the other Kongs to power-ups in Returns and Tropical Freeze, because they felt that DK was underused in this series that was named after him. And K. Rool's escape craft is popping out of the Crown of Crocodile Isle, which makes me realize that that's actually leading from the command center of Hideout Helm, which means that it couldn't be Creepy Castle. So I have no idea where that cannon shoots you. And this scene is a nice nod to the Godzilla movies. I'm pretty sure that's what they were doing here with the giant lizard monster stepping out of the sea. What the hell? He's almost as tall as the island. How did he fit in that little dome with the cage in it then? You know, this game, I don't know what Rare was thinking, but they couldn't seem to make up their minds how big or how small something was, because, you know, you managed to fit these big worlds inside this tiny little island without explaining how it's done, and then you have this lizard who's apparently the size of the entire island, who managed to fit in a cage that was, you know, much, much smaller than the rest of the island, so I don't know how that works. Anyway, as you saw in that scene, K. Lumsy chased K. Rool's craft around and managed to trip over a rock that I don't think was there at any other point in the game, and he slapped K. Rool's craft out of the sky. It's on the other side of this number 3 teleporter. There it is. Let's jump inside for the final battle. And, of course, in another shining example of dimensional transcendentalism, K. Rool managed to fit Madison Square Garden inside this tiny little aircraft. Yeah, that's how I'm explaining it in my head canon, with a Doctor Who reference. This game was made by a bunch of British dudes. It's the most sense I could make out of it. Anyway, as Mike here is explaining to us, this Mike, not Mike me. I'm gonna assume this guy's name is Mike because, well, you know. Anyway, we're going to participate in a tag team boxing match. It's going to be 12 3-minute rounds. I'm going to try to do it in only 5. And Crusha K. Rool, huh? I was waiting for him to do one of his alter egos. I guess this is it in the game. And I believe this is actually the first game that depicts King K. Rool as having a tail. I mean, I'm sure he's always had a tail, but it was always concealed by something else, like his red cape in the first game, or that large pirate coat that he was wearing in the second game, or that lab coat that he was wearing in the third game. But I think this is the first time we actually see him as having a long tail in the game. No. It showed off his tail earlier in the game in that scene where he was pacing back and forth. Anyway, in spite of the fact that King K. Rool has gone all butterbean on us, this isn't a traditional boxing match like you would normally see. It's got its gimmicks. So what we're going to do is we're going to fight him as each Kong. We're going to start out, of course, with Donkey Kong himself, and we have 3 minutes in order to knock him down. Now, if we exceed that 3 minutes, of course, we move on to round 2. There's 12 rounds. If we run out of time during all 12 rounds, then it's game over. Or if we die, it's game over. It's preferable that you run out of time versus losing all of your health, because if you're on the very last Kong, and okay, I'll explain that a little later. Oh, come on, get up there. Yeah, you want to avoid his shockwaves. He mostly just stands in the corner. Now that we jumped into this barrel cannon, we want to wait for him to, showboat like that, and then we fire away at him. Now, once we beat him with DK, if we move on to another Kong and we end up running out of time, that's fine. We just get to move on to the next round with that Kong. But if any point in this fight that you die, even if we're on the very last Kong in the very last phase of the fight, if you die, you start all the way over from round 1. So yeah, that really sucks. Anyway, I think, yeah, he tries to fake us out here, so we gotta wait for him. It takes some pretty particular timing on our part. All right, and of course this last shot is going to be the trickiest. Let's get up here real quick. Oh shit. All right, come on. It's kind of hard to see whether or not you jumped onto him, but let's see. And wait for him to swing his gloves about 6 times and then fire away. He starts raising his gloves up, but he does it really, really quick. So you really don't have that much time. You just kind of have to predict when he's going to raise his gloves up and then fire away. And by the time you reach his face, he'll have raised his gloves up. And of course, our fair and unbiased announcers weren't about to let their master, take the fall. Okay. Up next is Diddy Kong, and K. Rool is changing up his strategy. He's going to try to hit us with his boomerang boxing gloves here. Easy enough to avoid. You just keep moving and they'll miss you. And then after a few hits, this barrel appears, and let's try to jump into it without getting hit. All right. And now we're jetpacking. We have unlimited crystal coconuts and unlimited ammo, so just go ahead and take your time. Not too much time, though, or you'll run out and we'll lose a round. But you want to hit the targets on these stage lights up here. It can be pretty tricky because the camera isn't situated directly behind Diddy, so it's kind of hard to tell if you have your shot lined up or not. But I guess if it was directly behind him, then you wouldn't be able to see K. Rool down there, and you wouldn't be able to avoid his gloves because you couldn't see them coming. And of course, for each Kong, their rounds go in 4 cycles. For example, we had to hit K. Rool with 4 barrel cannon shots in the first round, and here we have to drop 4 stage lights on him. Outside of running out of time or getting pummeled with his boxing gloves, another thing you have to worry about is flying too low and accidentally grazing your feet on the top of a stage light when you fly over it. Because if you do that, then it's going to count as you landing, and you're going to lose your jetpack, and then you're going to have to go down in the ring again and try to jump back into the jet barrel with him, throwing his gloves at you. What's the deal, guys? Are you bored watching your master get his ass kicked? Is that why you're falling asleep? This isn't the first time we've seen the Kremlings fall asleep on the job in this game. I think they may be suffering from narcolepsy, which can actually be caused by a low sodium to potassium ratio, and that's probably why they keep stealing Donkey Kong's bananas. Anyway, we're moving on to round 3 with Lanky Kong, and he's just going to, they didn't even take the damn thing off of him, so he's just going to blindly charge at us based on what he hears. So, looks like we're going to have to produce some sound in order to, entrap them. And of course, why would they put these things here? I mean, if this is K. Rool's ship, it's just a classic example of bad guys putting things to help the heroes in their own lair. Anyway, there's these buttons. They're numbered, but we don't have to push them in numerical order. It doesn't really matter. And by pushing one of the buttons with Lanky Kong's long reach, we get this banana with you get these barrels with giant banana peels in them. And now we need to get that banana in between us and K. Rool, and then we use these music pads in order to play some sound. So he hears us, runs towards us, and slips on the banana peel in the path. Lather, rinse, repeat for 3 more rounds. And hitting these switches can be kind of hard since they are off camera. We can move the camera into a position to where we can see the switches better, but then we wouldn't have our eyes on K. Rool himself. And because of how erratically he moves, we want to keep an eye on him to make sure he doesn't trample over us. Another thing you want to do is make sure to do your best to have the banana peel in the center of the ring, because if it's off-center by a little bit, then you stand a good chance of him running past it and ramming right into you, and then you'll take damage. And I love how the side of the ring says K. Rool's the king. You see that, Jerry Lawler? You've been dethroned. What the hell was that? Is the barrel? Okay, the barrel's there. I just kind of teleported to the center of the ring after hitting the button. That's never happened to me before. Anyway, easiest way to get the banana nice and centered is to wait until you're on one of those tiny stars on the side of the ring and then throw the barrel. And then when you're standing on the music pad, you want to wait until K. Rool runs around the opposite corner of you, and wait until he steps his, wait until he gets his toes, come on. Wait until he gets his toes, shit. What was I saying? You know what, come on. Oh, Jesus. Move! Crap. Alright, I'll explain it. I'll show you and explain it so it's a little easier for me to explain. Oh, did I get it on the center? I wasn't quite on the... good enough. I wasn't quite on the star there. Anyway, wait until he gets his toes close to that star, the point of the star that's pointing toward the corner of the ring, because as you see, he kind of makes an arcing motion when he turns toward you, so it gives enough leeway to where he gets in the path of the banana. If you wait too long or do it too soon, then he might run past the banana. It isn't too strict though. The hitbox on the banana peel is pretty wide. Now they finally decide it's a good idea to remove this thing. Are these critters using the same exact character model used for Crunch in Diddy Kong Racing? It's been a while since I've played that game, so I don't really remember exactly what he looks like. I'm pretty sure he didn't wear a bow tie under a, with a leather vest. Alright, if I'm gonna end up dying and having to do a retake at any part of this boss fight, it's going to be here in this round with Tiny Kong, because it's going to require some quick pattern recognition, and I kind of have it down, but it's still a little random. And hailing all the way from DK Isle? You mean the aisle all the way over there, 12 feet away from this crashed ship? Odd choice of words on your part, other Mike. Anyway, K. Rool's going to start off this round by doing butt stomps and sending out multiple shockwaves. But of course, after a whole round of slipping on banana peels and falling on his butt, in addition to having his tail yanked on really hard to pull his head out of a stage light, his butt can no longer take multiple poundings. I could have worded that better. Anyway, he starts rubbing his sore ass, and we're going to take that opportunity to shrink down with this mini monkey barrel that conveniently appeared, and now we're inside of his shoes where we have to dodge his toes, which wiggle in random patterns until he lifts up his far left toe, and we shoot it with a feather to tickle him. I don't know how that's going to knock him out, but whatever. This phase kind of reminds me of the fight with Mazal in The Legend of Zelda: The Minish Cap. because it also involved, of course, shrinking down and going inside of the boss in order to attack him from the inside. Anyway, when he's running around like this, it's best to avoid standing on the big stars because that's always where he's going to be standing when he makes those shockwaves. So back in here, now we have to attack the second toe, and this time we're going to have to attack it twice. Now, the patterns are kind of random for these, for these toes. I wasn't expecting him to wiggle the same one at the same time. But one of the things that I could give you as far as advice is when, like, for example, when you see him wiggle the two center toes and jut them out, he almost certainly is going to wiggle the two far outside toes and then send them out. So there are, you know, he only sends out certain combinations of toes, and then it's still very random. So that's why that's why I keep getting hit. But there is a pattern, kind of. But anyway, now we're attacking the third toe, and you probably already see where this is going to go. Crap. Oh, okay. Shit. We have to attack it 3 times, and I'm not paying enough attention. Sometimes he fakes you out and sends out the same toe at the same time because it's part of another pattern that he uses immediately following the one he just did. But if you're quick enough, you can simply go off of the fact that he wiggles his toes a little bit before sending them out. So if you have really fast reflexes, then you don't even have to look for a pattern. You can simply look at what toes are wiggling and use that to your advantage. And I'm sorry, yeah, I know I'm stammering, but for me, this part of the boss fight requires so much concentration, and now we're going to be in here way longer than we were before because this last toe right here, if you've been following the pattern, you know that we're going to have to attack it 4 times. There we go. All right, so he's wiggling. I didn't move fast enough. Okay, so all right, so yeah, he just moved the outer toes right there, so I knew he was going to move the 2 inner toes. So, oh, crap. Okay, and whoa. There we go. All right, we're done. That was rough. Yeah, that's definitely one of the weirder phases of this fight. It's hard to explain because he has a pattern, but it's a random pattern, if that makes any sense whatsoever. The best I can give you is at no point does he ever use the same 2 toes twice in a row. And if everything goes well, this should be the final round. We've moved on to Chunky Kong, and now it's going to be more of a traditional boxing match. I mean, the idea is to punch him. We got to straight up punch him. But he's not going to make it easy for us. He has turned invisible, and if this game has taught us anything, we can make invisible things visible by turning Chunky invisible. I don't know how that makes sense. I guess it's kind of a rule of 1. There can only be 1 invisible thing at the same time. Anyway, once we've turned ourselves invisible, a hunky chunky barrel appears, and as soon as we grow, we're immediately put in the corner, and we need to properly time a primate punch in order to hit him before he hits us. You definitely do not want to die here, because if you do, especially if you've ran the clock all the way up to round 12, if you die, you're going all the way back to round 1 on the first phase with Donkey Kong. You have to start the whole fight over again, so now would be a bad time to die. Alright, pretty much the same pattern as before, except this time he's a little faster. Alright, but we got him. And you've probably already taken note of the fact that each time we use one of the chunky pads in order to use the Gorilla Gon ability, they disappear. So there we go. So now only 2 are left after hitting that switch in the middle. So for each one you use, it disappears. So each time you're limited to what corner you can go into. And I missed, yeah. That one's a little harder because he's invisible and he's going slightly faster than he was during the second attack. Sorry, I'm getting a little tongue-tied here. My throat's actually drying out from talking so much, and I don't want to pause the... Crap, I don't want to pause the game right now to reach for my water. Get in the barrel, please. Thank you. All right, let's see if we can get him this time. And maybe now... Nope, of course not. All right, I think I need to wait until he's, like, in the center of the ring and then release it because, you know, the Primate Punch has quite a bit of a wind-up. Oh, crap. All right, I need to pay more attention to where he's going before I start just running toward what I need to run toward. All right, center of the ring. There we go. All right, that looks like it was timed well. Okay, last go, last go. How's my health? I can't see my health meter during this cutscene. What are you gloating about? I'm kicking your ass. And it, okay, well, there we go. I got 1 melon left. He only takes a quarter slice, so that shouldn't be so bad. And I got 1.5 minutes left. So unless I'm really, really, really bad, I should be able to pull this off. All right, now he's invisible, and he's going to zigzag. So maybe right about now. All right, we got him. We got him. We beat the game. We're done. Pretty epic boss fight, even though if I were to make this game, I'd have made the Order of Kongs in the reverse order so Donkey Kong could score the final hit because it should be the main character. It should be like the title star to deliver the final blow against the bad guy. So once again, DK gets the shaft, but it looks like K. Rool's not quite done. Look out, Chunky, who's gonna help you now? Huh? Oh, hello. How is this even working? Haven't we established that K. Rool hates the Kongs? Also, you're a crocodile. She's an ape. Not that I'm going to talk about, yeah. Did you see the way she pushed herself away from the wall like that? So, it's subtle. I mentioned that subtle thing that she does earlier in the game. But, yeah, that little push, that little shove she does away from the wall. There's something about that just works for me. It's at this point that I've come to the conclusion that I think there's a little bit of furry in everybody. I mean, the people who made this game wouldn't design her like that if they weren't a little bit furry on the inside. I mean, not full-blown. Anyway, Funky Kong steps in while he's distracted and gives him the bazooka boot. Oh, and for the record, totally not a furry. You're not going to catch me yiffing in a fur pile anytime soon, if that makes any damn sense. But Candy Kong's an ape, and apes are close enough to the human species to where it's okay, right? I mean, other than that, totally not a furry in any way, shape, or form. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, you're all cool. Live your lives the way you want to live them, as long as you're not hurting anybody. But me, not a furry. Just for Candy Kong, and Crystal from Star Fox, and Rouge the Bat. But that's it. Okay, maybe Minerva Mink, a little, but only in her very first appearance before she got Uniboob. Not Sally Acorn, though. What's the deal with her? She doesn't even have boobs. She never did. Anyway, I am way off topic at this point, so let's watch the credits roll. This has been Donkey Kong 64, and if I could sum this game up in 10 words, it would be a great game, but not as good as Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, it looks great, but even though it uses the N64 expansion pack, I can't say that it looks as good as Banjo-Kazooie. As far as environments are concerned, no location in this game is as memorable as Banjo-Kazooie. It pretty much has, you know, if anything makes it look better than Banjo-Kazooie, it would be the lighting effects. But of course, the lighting effects are a double-edged sword because it causes you to have poor drop shadows. Except, of course, in cases like in this cutscene where you can clearly see drop shadows, but that's only because the lighting source in this particular scene is directly above the characters. Not to mention in Banjo-Kazooie, all of the characters had fun personalities. In here, it's just, you know, Tiny's the spunky little girl, Chunky's the dumb one, Diddy's the cool one, Lanky's the wacky one, and Donkey Kong is Donkey Kong. I can't help but feel that he was just here so he could get the game sold by putting his name on it. And of course, Funky is Funky, Cranky is Cranky, and Candy Kong is Hot Girl. I mean, there's no funny dialogue between any of the characters. In Banjo-Kazooie, I loved the way that Kazooie was always in a battle of wits with bottles, God rest his soul. I mean, listen, I know I'm sounding a little negative here, but I assure you, this is a great game, and you should try it, and you shouldn't be overwhelmed by the sheer number of collectibles, because they're packed closely enough together to where you can gather them all up fairly quickly. But I can't help but feel that Rare just didn't want to make this game. I think after the success of Banjo-Kazooie, Nintendo just told Rare, good, we like that, make it like that, but bigger, and put Donkey Kong in it. Because it's a good game. It's a competently programmed game, as much as a Nintendo 64 game can be, but it just lacked the heart and soul that you found in Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie. This, on top of the fact that Rare had a good idea for a game in Dinosaur Planet, only to have Nintendo turn around and force them to turn it into Star Fox, I think these things were the nail in the coffin that caused Rare to eventually jump ship and move on to Microsoft. Look, I love Nintendo, but this whole thing that they're doing right now with YouTube is nothing new. Talk to any game developer that's been around since the 80s or the 90s, and they'll tell you that Nintendo, as a business, has always had very draconian policies. That being said, the game is still worth trying. If you have $10 to spare and a Wii U, I suggest you download it on the Virtual Console, because in spite of difficulties caused by having a second analog stick instead of the C buttons, the fact that this version eliminated the massive frame rate lag that you'd constantly find plaguing the Nintendo 64 version makes it a slightly more enjoyable experience than playing it on an actual Nintendo 64, at least in my opinion. It has its flaws, but if you're not going through the entire thing comparing it to Banjo-Kazooie, it's a very enjoyable game. But anyway, the day is saved, pieces returned to DK Isle, and the Squawks spelled DK in the sky by farting ketchup and mustard. I don't know how that works. Okay, after the credits roll, if you manage to get 101%, you're treated to this extra scene, where, we see Candy with Nintendo 64 jiggle physics. Actually, that's kind of impressive for this era. And if you manage to nab that extra Rareware banana from the Banana Fairy Queen, you get one more extra scene after this, so I'm probably going to leave you with that. So as our heroes ride off into the sunset on the belly of their new giant friend, I just wanted to say I hope you enjoyed this playthrough of Donkey Kong 64. In spite of my numerous gripes and complaints along the way, I did enjoy making it for you guys. And I have to say that it was very refreshing to actually start up a Let's Play and actually finish it in a time span less than a year. And I really hope Candy Kong doesn't fall into his mouth. She's just kind of standing there on his lower lip. Anyway, I already started up some test playthroughs of a couple of games that could potentially be my next LP. So I will see you all next time, and until next time, thank you for watching That LP Show, and have a one that is good.
Next. 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 Next.